everybody, this is the Wikstrand. So, when I started watching this movie, I had absolutely no knowledge of what this was going to be. I didn't know what the plot was, I didn't know what genre it was. I just knew that the movie was called Moon 2.0. And I was figuring, well, it's going to be some kind of a weird, sci-fi chicanery from the late 1960s. But I was kind of confused when the, opening credits started, because it was structured and it looked exactly like a 1960s comedy, with, animated stuff where people are doing weird things and it's supposed to be funny, but it's not that funny and it lasts absolutely too long. In the opening credits, we have, two astronauts, one Soviet and one US, who is trying to, fight each other, Marvin the Martian style, and essentially, beating each other's flags into pulp and other forms of lonesome nonsense. Anyway, so I was thinking at that point, is this supposed to be some kind of a, political movie about, unrest and political chicanery on the moon, like, a duck soup or something like that? But it turned out, no, it is not anything like that. I don't even know if this is supposed to be, a crime sci-fi, or it's supposed to be a adventure sci-fi minus the adventure, essentially. But I know this is a movie that you will not forget in the long run. This is Moon 2.0. Oh, by the way, we're going to have to take a look at the poster. Well, not this poster. It just says, the first Moon Western, which is a fun thing to do, I guess. But there's another poster that has a couple of taglines that I thought was quite hilarious. See the moon community in the year 2021. What? This movie takes place 3 years in the past? See the first space gun battle on the moon. See the fabulous go-yo dancing on the moon. See the travel vehicles of the future. You gotta love these old-timey posters. It's so adorable. Kemp used to work for the corporation, and he is, a citizen of the moon. And he has, some trust issues with other people, but he agrees to help some rather unsavory people to locate a thing that has crashed on the far side of the moon. An asteroid that is supposed to be consisting of entirely of sapphires. He is, after all, a salvage expert of some description, so he takes this job. He's also approached by this mysterious woman who wants him to help her find her brother, who has disappeared for some reason. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that, well, these two things, I think, will be connected one way or the other. So are they going to be able to find the brother? Are they going to be able to, find the sapphire? And who is going to benefit from this thing? That is what I think, at least, that this movie is about, because this movie is just stuffed to the gills with weird psychedelic nonsense things. We have, weird dancing things, we have bar fights in ultra slow motion, and we have, people acting in the weirdest way possible, all, accompanied with this soundtrack of very funky and very groovy jazz. So if you think that this movie is going to be a little kooky wooky, you have come to the right place. And all of this weird nonsense isn't really, taking us anywhere. As I said, this is like a space adventure, really without the adventure, because this movie ain't going anywhere. It's quite boring, actually. There are moments in this movie that I found to be quite entertaining, and I will appreciate that the dancing girls are completely braless. Yes, they do not have an over-the-shoulder boulder holder, indeed, but apart from that, there isn't a lot of things that is happening in this movie. It is an experience, but not quite as entertaining as the Holy Mountain, or a Sardos, or a Barbarella, or, something like that. This feels more like some dude who saw 2001: A Space Odyssey a number of times and then said, well, I can do that. And then he, you know, smoked all the LSD or whatever you do with LSD. I don't know. I'm not a drug expert or anything like that. And then he made this thing. The sets, well, they do look impressive, I must say. This is a Hammer film after all. This is not some, you know, low budget thing that we are experiencing. But the movie doesn't have really a good plot, and the movie doesn't go anywhere. And there's a lot of things that is not happening in this movie. And despite it being quite a, you know, short movie, it moves in an absolute snail's pace, and I was on the verge of snoozing off a few times when I saw this movie. A very bad sign when I see a movie, because normally I never fall asleep when I see a movie I've never seen before. So do I recommend this movie? No, I do not. This is a weird, psychedelical, late 60s sci-fi movie, and if you think that is your thing, you will like this movie. But if you can rewatch 2001: A Space Odyssey once again, then please do that, because that is a far more entertaining movie than this movie is. And if you want to have some, you know, total nonsense entertainment in this form of genre, Barbarella and Sardos is far better than this movie is. And if you want to have, you know, complete ludicrous nonsense, LSD trippy things, The Holy Mountain, for all its flaws, is still one of the most wacky things I've seen in my entire life. So this is not a movie I really recommend, but if you are the right person, you will find great enjoyment in this movie. But otherwise, this was a boring movie that went nowhere, and you didn't really care about, you know, whether or not they would find these sapphire things, or if they were drawing too much attention to themselves, or, you know, what was going to happen with the characters. It is just a bunch of weird things that's happened, and then, you know, they stop happening. So that's basically it. I would call this movie mostly harmless, but I don't really care what's happening in this movie or what's going to happen to these characters. In the end, I'm going to have to give Moon 2.0 16 points. It is not a very good sci-fi movie, but it is a movie that you will remember, but it isn't really doing anything for me. I've seen better in this genre and more stuff that was quite more wacky than this thing was. So I'll see you next time from, well, so-and-so reviewing, well, such and such. Thank you for watching. Thank you very much.